I really should do that. Such a simple thing. But I don't know. Like some costumes, it's like, oh yeah, I'll do that right there and then, and it won't take any time at all. Some it takes me like a month to figure it out. Like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is kind of what I want to do. And I really like looking at it. And honestly, it's every single time it's a bit different. So I don't really have like a method to it. But it's been fun. You know, it's a fun process to go through. It's just kind of time consuming, which is why I had to step back from it and, you know, do the work thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I love doing the cosplay. There was a point in my life where I'm like, do I want to be a professional cosplayer? And I almost said yes, but I'm like, no, I really should, you know, keep doing the acting thing. And my agents kind of sat me down, we had a long talk, and like, okay, well, if you're really serious about this, you have to like focus on your auditions, and you know, when you're working on a show, you gotta know your lines, and all these things that I started like letting slip, because I'm like, yes, but I gotta do this thing, I gotta order that, I gotta talk to that person, and it was just a little bit too much, because there were so many of them. So this year, you know, I had to take a step back, and just, lo and behold, I've never been busier. I'm working on a lot of things right now. A new show called Dirk Gently is coming out October 27th. And I am super excited about it. It's a book series written by Douglas Adams. He did Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So this is another series that he did. BBC did a show. This is BBC America. If you're in Canada, but if you actually live in Canada, I think it's going to be released in Netflix in December, so until then it's only being shown in America on BBC America. That's all I know about that. I also hope it's going to be a good show, but I don't know. But why don't you watch and find out? Hi.
Hi. I was wondering if you got the opportunity to witness an event either in the past or in the future that's yet to happen, which would you choose and what would you want the event to be about?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a very good question. Okay, do I get to witness it and then come back here, or do I just witness it and then I go with it?
No, you can witness it and then come back.
Oh, that makes it more complicated. Witness it and then come back. Oh, do you have one in mind that you're...
There's like a lot of things I probably want to see and write about.
There is a lot. There is a lot, but nothing, I mean, when you fabricated that question, certainly you had like, oh yeah, at least that. Name one. I mean, you can change your mind later.
Well, I don't know, like, if I was able to, like, go back in the past, I think it'd be really interesting to, like, see or witness, like, events almost like the Great Depression or other things like that. I think it'd just be really interesting, like, historical events, but then again, I'd be pretty awesome to go in the future, witness something, come back, and be the only one to know that it's, like, it's yet to happen.
Okay, you went so many different ways. Yeah, I mean, certainly the future would be cool. You go to the future and like, oh, now I can start the future's Google or whatever. My first thought was, I want to go back to when dinosaurs roamed the planet because I wanted to try to ride a dinosaur without dying. But the future does sound pretty cool. But dinosaurs. I think that was probably one of my like earliest dreams, because I used to think dinosaurs were real. I'm from Vancouver, and we had the '86 Expo, which was the year I was born, and when I was like, I think 4 or 5, I remember my parents telling me about it. It's like, oh yeah, there are dinosaurs there, but they're gone now. That was like the year you were born, and I thought that's when the dinosaurs went extinct. And I was so angry, but I always had this dream of like riding a Stegosaurus. So I might have to go with that, even though the future sounds promising. So many things, just to see where technology goes. But you know what? Instead of traveling to the future, I'll probably just travel to Japan, because I hear it's like going to the future.
Will Ferrell from Land of the Lost, he like slides down the huge dinosaur's tail.
Maybe I will try it, and if it works out that way, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Wow, so many things. I think that's the first time anyone's asked that question. Good one. Hi.
Hi. I was wondering if you could sign up through Random Acts to perform any act of kindness. What act of kindness would you do?
You sign up with Random Acts to do an act of kindness?
Yes. Yes. So if you could sign up to perform any act of kindness through Random Acts for anyone, what would you do?
Wait, don't you just do them?
You can, but you can also sign up to get funding.
Oh. Hi.
Hi. You can go on the Random Acts website and sign up to do something that you want to do, and the Random Acts pays for it.
Oh.
If you can do anything outside of your personal budget, we'll do it.
Oh. Did you guys know that? You all learned something new today. Wow. There are so many things outside of my budget. And the world is the limit. I don't know if there's anything that... I mean, right now, with Random Acts, they're doing the big Nicaragua school, which is a project that I've been a part of helping. But they're already doing it. So it'd be weird to request them to do the thing they're already doing, right? I'm like, hey, do it better, do it faster. I don't know. Maybe this is a better question suited for you. What's the random act that you requested? I'm assuming you requested one.
Maybe to have a grand dinner for the city's homeless, maybe to get a chef to come in and do a nice fine dining experience for people that are living on the street, maybe.
Oh, that's really nice. Okay. Something like that. I'm just trying to think. So being in Vancouver, we actually have a huge homeless problem. I don't know if this is true, but I've heard stories. My friend told me once that Calgary solved its homeless population problem by giving them all bus tickets to Vancouver. Because our weather is mild and people are very generous. I think for any random act of kindness, the one thing that I really like about the Nicaragua School Project in general is that it's about education. And I think for me that's like number one, because you get to help people in a way that allows them to help themselves, in the long run. So anything that has to do with education, if it's like maybe a school that doesn't have funding, for certain programs or stuff, that's the kind of thing that I was involved in when I was in high school, was raising money for, kids that wanted to learn. I think motivation is like one of the hardest things to find, and when you have children who want to learn something but are unable to, I think that's when I definitely want to help, because I knew how unmotivated I was at so many things, and if there was ever a time where I had that enthusiasm to get into something, and that matched up with my parents being able to afford it, that's when magic would happen. So I don't know if there's anything in particular that I know currently, but it'd be finding that kind of thing. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. But in general, I think random acts of kindness, we're always thinking about like the big things, but I think it's the little things that they count a lot more. Just saying hi. Being in Canada, we have this great reputation of being nice, which is great. I certainly take advantage of that when I travel overseas. But I think it is those little things of, just making eye contact and smiling at people that kind of makes a big ripple effect in the world. So don't discount those when you're thinking of doing random acts of kindness. Sometimes we're thinking so big we forget the little stuff. But I think the little stuff definitely adds up. Hey.
Hi. First of all, I just want to say I loved your Captain America cosplay. I actually went as Captain America for Halloween last year.
Yeah, thank you. That was fun.
And my question is, if you could be an Avenger, what superpower would you have as an Avenger?
If I could be a current Avenger or a non-existent one that I make up?
Non-existent one.
Man. Um, do you have, okay, do I have to be fair about it? I mean, clearly I would want to be, I don't know. Can you name me? I'll think of my powers.
What?
I don't know. See, the problem with writing, so if I were just to throw myself in there, I'd just make myself like, I'm gonna have all of your powers without all the, mental baggage that you guys all have. He's stable, he's got all the power, he's got everything together. But then it's kind of leads to a boring story. I know, one that hasn't happened. It's hard when you're trying to shove yourself, because they've got a nice balance. Stanley did a really good job. The Hulk was always my favorite character. He kind of represented everything that I thought of as a kid. I had major rage issues as a kid. And I would always imagine myself as the Hulk, but instead I just, I got really, probably red-faced because I was holding my breath. But I love the Hulk. Now the Hulk is Amadeus Cho. The new comic book series is Amadeus Cho, in Asia, like the 8th smartest person in the world, and he's the new Hulk. And so my brain is all about, if they do a movie, that's who I want to play. But to do a new Avenger, I don't know. Yeah, someone with all of their powers with a cooler name. And an even better catchphrase. I don't know what it is, but I want it to be good. Do you have one?
I probably want, personally, control elements or something. Kind of, I don't know, something cool like that.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm gonna take mine back. The power of communication. I will be the glue that holds the team together. I'll be like, okay, Captain, he's just really hot right now. Iron Man, he didn't mean it. It was really hard. He didn't know how to say it. No more Civil War. Power of communication. But seriously, being able to speak every language, animal language, I feel like so many problems, most problems in life, come from lack of communication or just all the stuff that's lost in translation. So being able to just communicate, that'd be pretty badass. I'll do that. That's my superpower. Communicator.
My battery's just about dead, guys.
The translator. No, I gotta take out the tour. Language. Too plain. Speaker. No. I keep thinking.
Lingual.
My question is, what's the most memorable thing that happened to you on set, and what's the most memorable thing that's ever happened with the band?
Talk a lotter. Okay, most memorable thing, my first day. First day was the day that Jared was going to be a dad. So everything was so very different. I was just learning about the show and, everyone involved in it and meeting all of these new faces that would become really close friends. So certainly I think that was the most memorable. We had the running away scene that Kevin was running away from Sam. That was really nice, and it culminated in Jared running off to be a dad. So I don't think anything can really top that. In terms of memorable experiences with the fan, man, there are so many good memories. I mean, one of the coolest things about being up here, being in this position, is that, I mean, we're in a position of influence now, and we have so many fans come up to us and they tell us their life stories sometimes, and all we'll just say is why don't you try that thing, and they're like, oh my God, that makes so much sense, and then they'll go and do that thing, and their life changes. And sometimes I hear, you'll meet their friend, they're like, thank you, we've been trying to tell them to do that thing for like 10 years. And now that you've mentioned it in passing, they're doing it. And it's like the weirdest thing. Listen to your friends, sometimes they're really smart. But being able to kind of be at that point where you can just like encourage someone to try something that they know that they already want to do, and they just got to do it. And then seeing them later on, and they've completed the thing and they've completely transformed as people, and that has kind of taken over their lives in the best possible way. Like those moments are the best possible thing. To see that transformation, and from a storytelling perspective, that's like the full arc that I like to see in movies. And I think those are the coolest moments. And there have been so many that I can't even pinpoint one. Those are always great.